Well, hello and howdy everybody. This is General Beauregard, and you came to the right place to talk some football. So, naturally, we begin in the SEC. After 2 weeks of action, we are almost at the finish line. Alabama is number 1, and Georgia is number 2. Well, there isn't any more to talk about if all you're interested in is the national title. These numbers won't change until these two teams slug it out, or somebody slugs them out. And of course, nobody will, and so that is the end result. So the informed fan can only watch these two teams and watch them fight their battles of proxy. Georgia offered the first piece of evidence by an impactful, dynamic victory over Clemson in the opening week of the season, and Bama countered on the same day with a shiny victory over a highly ranked Miami. And of course, you had the meaningless follow-up week after that, and now we have the true test for Alabama. They get the Florida Gators, the marquee game of this week. So now, while Georgia has a home game with South Carolina. So let's just dive right in. Remember, if you enjoy watching General Beauregard's SEC Talk, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast, we sure appreciate it. We're here to discuss this week's marquee game, and it appears to be the only game that's really going to make any difference to the overall picture is this Florida Gator-Alabama game. So as I said, let's dive right in. It's the only game that matters, so let's just get right to it. Alabama and Florida, it's a home game for Florida. And for all intents and purposes, Florida's entire season hangs in the balance here. A loss reduces their season options to, at best, an SEC title, and that's with only an outside chance, of course. Still an outside chance of a national title, but we're not even going to discuss that big of an outside chance. On paper, Florida can still lose this game and still win the SEC East, but that would also require them to beat the number 2 team in the country. Now, the last time an SEC team defeated a number 1 and a number 2 team in the country in the same season, that team failed to win the SEC. Y'all may remember that was in 2017 when Auburn defeated Alabama at number 1 and Georgia at number 1. Or maybe one of them was number 2. I think they actually beat number 1 team twice. Ended up Georgia beat them back and went to the SEC, and that's the last you heard of Auburn, practically ever since. And so Florida is no better than in that condition of Auburn. They'll have to match that, and this is not that kind of team. That Auburn team in 2017 really had some potential, and injuries, of course, depleted their possibilities, and they dwindled into the dust of history and have yet to reemerge. Even though they have scored a lot of points this year, and it could be an interesting thing with Auburn, but we're not here to talk about Auburn. We're here to talk about the only game that matters this week, and that's Florida and Alabama. Okay, so just for practical purposes, Florida needs to win this game to have a realistic shot at even the SEC, but certainly anything else like a national title. Obviously, they'll have to win this football game. Now, a lot of teams would love to have the opportunity for a head-to-head with Alabama because that could really take you a long way. So it's an opportunity for Florida. Let's be realistic. This is their best shot to make a move. And they've got them on the schedule. Now, unfortunately, there's a little side dust here that, I don't believe, I'm pretty sure I'm correct, I don't believe since Nick Saban came to Alabama that any SEC East team that has them on their regular season schedule, I don't think that team's ever won the SEC East. And this year it's Florida's turn. Last year it was Georgia's turn. They didn't win the East. This year, in essence, it almost ensures you to have a loss in the conference. And so if somebody runs the table, you're done. But it's an opportunity as well. And I'm sure Florida is looking at it as that opportunity. I'm certainly sure they are. Florida needs to win this game to have a realistic shot at the SEC or the SEC East Division. Florida loses, they can still maybe make the Gators happy by getting into a New Year's Six Bowl, so it's not like their whole season expires, because realistically, that's probably as much as they was hoping for. So from the standpoint of that, this game is actually as meaningless to Florida as last year's Sugar Bowl game against Oklahoma. But they can still get to that SEC or that Sugar Bowl New Year's Six game if they lose. So Florida's true season goals probably aren't at stake. But on paper, all fans like to shoot for the highest possibilities, and you've got a game against Alabama, and you're undefeated. Now, two things to the Gator fans. If they can beat Alabama, then that gives them a lot of hope that they can run the table and maybe win a national title. And certainly they could if they could win this game. There are two big problems for Florida in this game, and neither one of them is Dan Mullen or Todd Grantham. So that's a plus, because usually those are two big problems they carry into every football game. No, they didn't go anywhere. Dan Mullen and Todd Grantham are still there, but I'm not going to assess them as problems just yet. Florida's two biggest problems are quarterback. Namely, they have two quarterbacks. And according to non-Euclidean math, that equals 0 quarterbacks. So can Florida beat Alabama without a quarterback? Well, the answer is, of course, no. Well, Florida fans are simply going to have to depend on Emory Jones to beat the monster from Tuscaloosa. Well, quick time saver here, they can't. So if they can't, they probably won't. But for the sake of argument, let's break this game down if you got the stomach for it. First of all, my score, right off the top, Alabama's 41-17 winner. That's if everything goes according to the laws of nature. Now, how generous will Alabama be? Who knows? Keep your wallet in your pocket in this one, however. That'd be my recommendation anyway. Florida will score some points. I'll put them at 17. Throw a garbage touchdown and a piece of luck, and Florida might stretch it to 28. But that won't be enough. Probably not nearly enough. Alabama's 41 points is what nature intended. The worst luck, a turn of events, Bama gets to 35. Maybe a little less, but 30-35. And my guess is Alabama will not lose a game this year in which they score 30 or more points. Now, breaking that game down further is strictly for entertainment purposes only, but we shall do so somewhat. How can Florida win? Emory Jones could take this team on his back and have a day for the ages. Todd Grantham could dial up a masterpiece, and both of those things could happen. Nick Saban's belly aching about his team's intangibles could be justified, and the home field could be the difference. Also, the sun could burst into oblivion just after the final whistle. But barring this odd collection of oddities on this Saturday, it's highly likely that Alabama wins this football game. A lot of fans like to treat a game like this as an actual football game, and so, of course, we look at that as a general waste of time, and we pick Alabama to win the game, just like the general said, 41-17.